Hey guys, welcome in. Rob Kendall Show. Bam! Do we have a big show for you today? Coming up here in just a little bit, the mayor of Lebanon, Matt Gentry, is going to be with us, and we are going to have a spirited discussion about all the things. Some of the biggest stories have been the biggest stories in Indiana politics and government the past year, and they all sort of center around LEAP. We've got the LEAP district in Lebanon. You've got the IEDC, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. You've got water, millions of gallons of water daily coming out of Eagle Creek potentially. And it all comes to a head right there in Lebanon. So he will be with us here in just a little bit to talk about all that. Plus, look, the Gentrys are one of the most prominent Republican families in our state. And I'm going to ask him, should the Republicans dump Diego Morales? So that is all coming up in just a little bit. If you got friends that don't know about us, yes, tell them. Tell them today is the day to watch the Rob Kendall Show. And by the way, don't forget, bunch of ways you guys can help us continue to grow this program. First of all, if you haven't, hit that little thumbs up button. Let people know you're watching. Let people know you like what we're doing. Also, subscribe. If you're new to the program today, which I got a feeling we're going to have, quite a few new listeners today, new viewers today, whether you're watching us live or on demand, hit that subscribe button. That really helps us grow the program. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, give us that 5-star review. Let people know that you like the Rob Kendall Show. Share the feed out. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening or watching us from, let people know on your Facebook, on your Twitter. Let them know about the Rob Kendall Show. Because what we're doing is a local, all day, every day. That's what we do. Indiana news, politics, and government. When we talk about national stories, we tell you how it affects you here back home. Nobody else is doing this. We're the only people in the marketplace giving you 2 hours a day, every day, focused on local issues because that's what we think you deserve. Let's face it. Other people aren't doing it because they can't do it. But we can. And man, what a big show we've got today. Coming up here in just a little bit, the mayor of Lebanon. Some other things we want to get to before that, though. And there was a big story that broke this morning. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it today because I'm going to get into it tomorrow. But I did want to touch on it today because the story came out today. And that is that the body cam footage is now public from the raid of Nathan Peternel's home. Now, just a reminder on who Nathan Peternel is. Nathan Peternel is the lead pastor at Life Church. He is also the best friend, podcast co-host, and boss of the Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith, who's the head pastor at their Noblesville campus. Now, most of you know this by now. For those of you who don't, Nathan Peternel's adult son, who was living with Nathan at the time, is now in prison related to heinous crimes against children. And last fall, the Peternel home where Jonathan, his adult son, was living, Nathan's house, was raided by authorities gathering evidence in what would culminate with Jonathan's ultimate conviction to these heinous crimes against children. Now, at the time when that home was raided, neither Nathan nor the church let the public know what was going on. And Jonathan was allowed back into church without the public knowing what was going on or what he was accused of, where little children were present. And ultimately, of course, he was arrested. I think that was in October that he was arrested. He was charged. He's been in prison since then and now serving a multi-year sentence related to these heinous crimes against children. And as someone who used to attend that church, I said, I want to know what was on that body cam footage. I want to know what the authorities told the Peternels that day that their adult son was accused of. Because multiple people inside the church said, well, they tried to pass it off like it was almost like some sort of Chris Hansen type situation, where an adult is talking to an underage girl. Doesn't make it okay, but certainly it is vastly different than what Nathan Peternel's adult son, Jonathan, ultimately pled guilty to. And I said, I don't think that's how that went down that day. I think the Peternels knew exactly what their adult son was accused of, and they let him back in church where little kids were present. And now, looking at full disclosure, I know of at least one person who had the body cam footage last week. So I had a very good idea of what was on the body cam footage. I knew some key things that were on the body cam footage. By the way, it's like 10 hours collectively of the body cam footage, maybe even more. So it took a long time for people to get through once the body cam footage became public. And now that various national outlets are covering it, Abdul has a big piece on it today over at Indy Politics. Now that the body cam footage is public, I think you would have a very hard time. Any reasonable person would have a very hard time coming to any conclusion other than Nathan and his wife knew exactly what their son was accused of that day. The heinous, horrific nature of it. And then their response was to not tell anyone publicly and let that monster back into church where little kids were present. That's the first side of things we're going to get into tomorrow. The other part of it that matters, and it matters for the public dialogue, because the public has the right to know what the lieutenant governor knew. Are we led to believe that Nathan's best friend, his podcast co-host, and his golden goose, for lack of a better term, in his orbit of churches, of which there are multiple campuses of Life Church, the lead campus that was bringing the dollars in, Micah Beckwith, they didn't tell him about this? Nathan and Micah, thick as thieves for years, trips together, all of these things, and he just didn't tell him? What did the lieutenant governor know and when? Did the lieutenant governor know about what Jonathan Peternel was accused of that day, and did he hide it from the public? And why, if he didn't know exactly what Jonathan was accused of, why did Nathan and Micah delete very select episodes, old episodes of their Jesus, Sex, and Politics podcast? Why did they pick those episodes to delete? Again, not going to spend a lot of time on it today, but tomorrow we're going to cover the thing. And I'm going to say some things I haven't said before about all of this, because my life and my family has been profoundly impacted by this. The betrayal of these people, not just to me, but many, many people who put their faith in Nathan Peternel and Life Church and Micah Beckwith. It needs to be addressed, and so we will do that tomorrow. But we got a lot to get to. I don't want to take up a bunch of time on it because we've got the Matt Gentry interview coming up here in just a little bit. That is very important for everybody to see and to hear, so we'll get into that. But one thing I did want to make sure we got to today is Mike Braun and the ceremonial bill signing that he had yesterday for this utility language, a bill affecting how utility bills are levied in the state of Indiana and what goes into them. Because Braun lies about everything. And I read this article in the Indiana Capital Chronicle, and I wanted to puke. So we'll get to that here in a second. But first, somebody we do like, Lauren Wilson. Don't leave your biggest investment to chance. Work with Lauren Wilson, a realtor who is Hoosier through and through, a military vet, and dedicated to a higher standard of service. Lauren Wilson is ready to help you start your next chapter. Look, real estate is about big life changes, and Lauren Wilson gets that. Whether you're upgrading for a growing family or downsizing for retirement, Lauren provides hands-on experience that takes the stress out of the process. Look, you may not be in the market to buy or sell a home right now. You may not need her service right now, but Lauren would love to meet you, and it would pay benefit probably for you to meet her. That way, when you get to that point, when you say, hey, I want to buy or I want to sell, you got somebody already on the speed dial, somebody who can help you out. Lauren Wilson with At Properties. Call her for your next move. 317-590-2290. 317-590-2290. Get to know Lauren Wilson with At Properties. All right. So Mike Braun, the governor of Indiana, has this press availability or ceremonial bill signing yesterday to brag about signing a bill that does absolutely nothing to help the average person with their utility bills. And this is another example, and Braun does this all the time, of trying to grab a headline, but offering absolutely nothing, zero, to the average person. So our story today comes to us from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. House rolled in Act 1002 is the name of this bill. Now, I'm going to tell you what this bill actually does, but I'm going to read you Braun's quote on it first, because utility bills and property taxes are the two issues. They are the two issues that are most affecting the average Hoosier in a negative fashion. And Braun, now 2 legislative sessions into his first term as governor, probably, if we're being honest with ourselves, his only term as governor, has done nothing to help the average person on either one of these things, certainly of any substance. We laid out to you last week the property tax scam, that, yeah, your bill for a lot of people are going to go down this year, depending on what size home you have, what the property tax bill is. Yeah, some people get some quote-unquote relief. Of course, is it really relief if your bill's gone up, say, I don't know, $600 over the last 5 years and you get $150 or $200 back? So you're still paying $400 or $500 more. Is that really relief? And then, of course, we laid out how those bills are going to go up for most people over time in the very near future anyway. So you're getting nothing really of any substance with property taxes. Utility bills are also equally out of control. And the companies that are most responsible for this are the 5 for-profit investor-owned utilities in the state of Indiana. Now, of course, we have laid out to you how many of these same companies are totally in bed with the government, who grants them not only their monopoly to operate without competition, but also approves their rate increases that have crippled your wallet, your pocketbook. We've laid out how these utility companies give huge money to politicians. They give huge money to the Indiana Economic Development Foundation. You remember that? That's the travel arm of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, where our politicians and the bigwigs, the higher-ups in Indiana government, they do these international travels. So you have an incestuous relationship where the big 5 for-profit utilities are putting big money behind politicians and their campaigns. And they're also putting big money behind the Indiana Economic Development Foundation, which pays for lavish travel for our politicians and higher-ups in Indiana government. And the only line of defense, since they have the monopoly on stopping rate increases, is the IURC, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. The board members are appointed by who? The governor. Who controls the IEDC? The governor. Is this all making sense to you? So here's what Braun said. Then let's talk about what this bill actually does. Quote, affordability is this administration's top priority, and high electricity prices have placed a major burden on Hoosiers' wallets. No kidding, idiot. Thank you for stating the obvious. You're 2 legislative sessions into your term as governor. You've done nothing. I've taken action to put affordability for Hoosiers above profits for utilities. No, you haven't. The Capitol Chronicle just a couple weeks ago laid out how the profits of these for-profit investor-owned utilities have gone up. How the profit has gone up from 13 cents of every dollar we pay as users to 15 cents. Mike Braun has done nothing. Profits for utilities, and this new law requiring utilities to meet performance benchmarks based on affordability and accountability is a big step forward for affordability. Well, let's talk about what the bill actually does. Because what Braun wants you to think there is he's on your side. What Braun wants you to think is that he's done something for you, a middle-class average Hoosier. He's done nothing. If Braun really wanted to stop the for-profit utilities, first of all, he would put forth legislation that bans politicians who grant their monopolies from accepting donations. If you make your money off the government granting you a monopoly, no more donations. The number one way to stop the BS of these ever-increasing rates for utilities and ever-increasing profits for utilities is to stop them from giving money to the government or to government officials. No more donations to the IEDF. No more donations to the politicians. Step 1. Step two would be to cap the profits these utilities can make in terms of every dollar spent by a ratepayer. Now, look, I'm a free market guy. This ain't the free market. I believe that if you start your business and you're doing it on your own, you make as much money as you possibly can. Good on you. I'm not a wealth envy person. But this isn't that. These companies are making money off of a government-granted monopoly. Their profits are increasing off of a government-granted monopoly and government approval of their rate increases, which increase their profits. So the top two things, if Mike Braun actually gave a damn about you, that he could do if he wanted to stop the utility madness, is number one, ban the utilities from giving money to politicians and to government entities like the IEDF, or I guess they're not technically a government entity, they're a quasi-government entity, right? Yeah, it's always the language, right? And two, cap the amount of profit that these monopolies, which make everything they make is off the government, are allowed to make. The amount of per dollar spent that can go to profit, put a cap on it. They'll still be making huge money, and they're making it because of the government. Also, the thing that Braun conveniently forgets, and that's why this show is so valuable. This is why we're here. Braun won't tell you that just last year, he signed a bill into law, which he could have certainly vetoed if he didn't want the utilities making unlimited amounts of money. He signed a bill into law that allows, with unproven nuclear technology, SMRs, small modular reactors, the utility companies to recoup 80% of their profit through rate increases for you, whether it works or not. There's not a place in this country you can point to and go, SMRs are leading the way. SMRs are powering a city. There's not a single place you can point to and say it's worked. And what did Braun do? He signed a bill that is going to cause your rates to go up. Now, we're a family-based program here. So I'm just going to tell you Braun is full of it. There's another word I'd like to use, and if I saw him, I'd say it right to his face. He's full of it. He doesn't give a damn about you. He doesn't care about your utility bills. He's doing the exact opposite. So here's what this House Enrolled Act that he wants you to think is some silver bullet actually does. It requires utilities to have assistance programs for low-income customers. Okay, what does that do for me? I'm low income, ain't low enough income to qualify for this. The average person will not see assistance because of this. And again, it's an example of the government picking winners and losers. We're all using the same amount of electricity. We're all using electricity, right? Why should someone's electricity cost less than mine? The problem is not the low income people. The problem is everybody's getting screwed. What, so it's okay if you make $50,000 a year to screw that person, but hey, you make 30, you don't get screwed as much. Why? We're all getting screwed by the same system. Why is somebody better than somebody else? Everyone deserves a break. Everyone deserves a break. It prohibits hot weather shutoffs for low-income customers during peak heat. Okay, nice thing that people will have air conditioning. Great. Doesn't help the price of anyone's bill. Does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. And last, according to the Capitol Chronicle, it requires all residential customers to be put on a levelized billing plan. Customers can choose to opt out. Well, that doesn't lower anyone's bill. It just hides the cost of the electricity. So a lot of people have this, and it's great. If you want to do it, it's fine. Where to avoid the peaks, right, the spikes in the summer or the winter with your heating and cooling, you just pay the same amount every month. Well, at the end of the year, a lot of people end up actually paying more. I've had lots of people. They're on that, whatever you want to call it, levelized billing plan. They end up paying more. Now, you get it back in a credit or whatever, but it's not doing anything for anyone. Mike Braun had a press conference yesterday where he wanted you to believe he did something to help you with your utility bills, and he did nothing. Don't take my word for it. Here's what the Capitol Chronicle said. The law might lead to lower rates, but it doesn't mandate them. Anything that might eventually lower rates is years in the making. and it ain't going to be made. You think the utilities, the for-profit utilities who own these politicians, you think they're going to take this line down? You think they're just going to go, oh, yeah, just take our money from us. We'll just make less money. No. We saw this with the data center people at the end of the legislative session, in which there was a bill that was moving forward that was going to require these data centers to give big money back to communities, as much as $5 million annually, based on what they were doing and the electricity they used. What happened at the end of the session? The lobbyists, the donors got involved, got watered down to next to nothing. You should have zero faith that your utility bill is going to get one damn bit better because of this bill, and Braun is lying again. But guys, don't take my word for it. Here is what Kerwin Olson, he is the executive director of consumer advocacy at the Citizens Action Coalition. Quote, while the bill will provide needed relief and protections in the short term to many low-income households, right, government picking winners and losers, saying that if you're making $50,000 a year, shut up and pay, eat these ridiculous prices, find it somewhere else. But if you're making $20,000, well, you matter more than the person making $50,000. This is the key. Any realized benefit or savings for the majority of ratepayers will take years to materialize, if they materialize at all. Look, you can make a case that no one has been a bigger advocate for getting utility bills under control than the Citizens Action Coalition. They know this stuff like the back of their hand. Let me repeat that to you. Any realized benefits or savings for the majority of ratepayers will take years to materialize, if they materialize at all. It will all depend on how the IURC implements the bill once the requirements of the legislation are at issue in a formal proceeding before the IURC. Bingo. So years down the road, if it ever happens, who's going to make the call? The IURC. Who's appointed by who? The governor. And what does the governor control? The IEDC. And how is the IEDC travel funded? Through major donations through a lot of these power companies to the Indiana Economic Development Foundation. Mike Braun is a dirty, rotten dude. He's a liar. He lies about everything. And most of the media, they'll kiss his ass and give him a free pass. It ain't happening here, buddy. It ain't happening here. Hey, guys, trips would be a lot more fun if you didn't have the hassle of having to plan them. Like saying, I want to go here, but I don't want to do any of the work. Luckily, we got a guy for that. Adam Baltus at Baltus Travel Service. Adam is a one-stop shop for helping you plan your entire adventure. And the great thing is, in most cases, using Baltus Travel Service won't make your excursion cost a dime extra. Baltus Travel Service takes all the work out of planning your trip without adding any cost in many cases. Adam is certified through most major cruise lines as well as Disney and Universal theme parks. Take that long-desired vacation today without the hassle by visiting baltustravel.com. That's BALTUS travel.com, or call 812-593-7561. 812-593-7561. Okay, guys, just a couple of reminders. I know we got a lot of new viewers today. We're going to have a lot of people coming in that haven't been with us before. Welcome. We're so glad you're here with us on the Rob Kendall Show. If you haven't, huge way to help us out. Hit that little thumbs up button. Let people know you're watching. Let people know that, hey, we like the Rob Kendall Show. I think you get to remain anonymous if you do that. And if you haven't, also hit the subscribe button. That helps us really grow the program. And last, but certainly not least, share our feed. Let your friends know you are watching the Rob Kendall Show today. We are doing this important stuff. We are taking on the tough battles. We are doing the big interviews like coming up here with Matt Gentry, the mayor of Lebanon, about IEDC, about Leap District. But we need your help to help us grow. We are doing this all organically. We're a small operation. We're fighting for you, but we need you to help us grow. So do that, please, by sharing our feed on your Facebook page, on your Twitter account, wherever your social media is. Let people know about the Rob Kendall Show. If you're new and you hit the subscribe button, you can be a part of our YouTube comments section. That's all we require in order to be a part of our YouTube comments section, is that you be a subscriber and you got to behave like a member of decent society. Producer Jason, he is the YouTube chat cop. He is policing, and everybody is always well-behaved. But please subscribe. Join the YouTube chat. Be a part of it with us. Be a part of our family. Here today, we welcome you. And at the end of the show, producer Jason reads his favorite YouTube comments of the day, and that is sponsored by Black Sheep Plumbing. One other housekeeping note. If you like what we do, well, two other housekeeping notes. If you like what we do, if you own a business or you run a business, we have a hyper-dedicated, very loyal audience. It's growing all the time. Our advertisers, they love us. I got an email yesterday from Gary Tedrow, who we'll tell you about in a little bit, about the people who have reached out to him about their mortgage, about looking into that. Lauren Wilson, our realtor, blown away. John at Vince Heavy. I can't believe all these phone calls I'm getting. The Rob Kendall Show, there is no more loyal audience than the Rob Kendall Show. So if you own a business or run a business, look, we would love to get to know you. We'd love to know about what you do and see if our show can get more customers through your door. Sales@robkendallshow.com. Send me an email. Sales@robkendallshow.com. I'll call you back. Talk to people. It's like, you call me yourself? Yes, I do the phone calls, not some corporate sales executive that's not interested in you or that you've never heard of before. I'll call you back, get a hold of you, and find out about what you guys do, see if we can make it work for you. Sales@robkendallshow.com. All right, last thing. Say you're like, man, I love this. I love the Rob Kendall Show. This is great stuff. How can I support the show? But I don't run a business. I don't run a business. At robkendallshow.com. By the way, if you haven't checked it out, do. We have the live feed up, all the podcasting platforms where you can see and hear us. We've got articles posted each day based on transcripts of our favorite segments. It's a cool website. We're pretty proud of it. Head over to robkendallshow.com, and at the top of the page there's a support button. And if you like what we do, you want to keep these conversations going, you want to show your support for the show, click that support button, whether it's $1, $3, whoever it is, whatever amount it is. We certainly appreciate it, and we appreciate everyone. Man, many of you have done this over the past 5.5 weeks, supporting the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks to Steve, by the way, who gave very generously yesterday over at robkendallshow.com. We certainly appreciate everyone that is a part of the family with us. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, there is a major data center. It's like some sort of horror movie where these things just keep rising up out of the ground. There is another major data center plowing forward. And this one, look, you know what I've said about the data centers. They are necessary for the forward movement of our humanity. They are necessary for the betterment of society. We are not hypocrites here. We are talking to you right now, doing the valuable programming we're doing because of a data center. But there've got to be rules. There've got to be regulations. We got to have conversations about how to make the data centers work for everyone. And one community did something with the data center to move it forward yesterday that blew me away. This is not good government. We'll talk about it when we come back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hi, I'm John Piper. I'm running for Congress in Indiana. I'm the only candidate in the United States of America exposing the crisis we have in mother's breast milk. Purdue University is a major player in that. Purdue is selling our veterinarians to out-of-state corporations for big money. Bobby Kennedy needs to know about it effective immediately. We are 55,000 veterinarians short across the United States. My two major opponents, Craig Haggard and Jim Barrett, are both protecting the Iranian terror cell in Plainfield, Indiana. I'm John Piper. I approve this message. Paid for Friends for Piper for Congress.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance. so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
I'm Doug Cobb for Clay County Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency back to our local government. As a concerned citizen, I want to know what's going on. We need new and fresh ideas for today's challenges. We need a vision for future generations. As a small business owner, I want to explore and promote opportunities to make us all successful. Let's create a brighter future for Clay County together. I'm Doug Cobb, running for Clay County Commissioner, and I approve this message. Paid for by Linda Cheesem.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Coming up here just a little bit, we've got that big interview with the mayor of Lebanon, Matt Gentry. And look, this is gonna be a fun one. Matt and I have had we've had some fun back and forth on social media over the last couple of years, and we're gonna get into all the stuff. We're gonna get into the IEDC. We're gonna get into LEAP. We're going to get into the movement of water from other municipalities, or proposed movement of water from other municipalities or areas to Lebanon, Eagle Creek. We're going to talk about all that stuff, and it's going to be a very spirited back and forth. Plus, the Gentrys, many of you know, one of the most prominent Republican families in the state of Indiana, and I'm straight up going to ask him, should the Republican Party dump Diego Morales this year convention? So all of that is coming up in a little bit. But first, I'm going to tell you about what happened with a data center proposal in Shelbyville last night. And it's coming back to the data centers are losing the public trust because it's the Wild West right now. And what Shelbyville did through their planning commission, or what the council did in defiance of their planning commission, very concerning. And so I want to talk about that in the data centers as a whole. And you might say, many of you are regular viewers, you spend a lot of time on data centers. Yes, because data centers are the future. And data centers, we've got to get some semblance of uniformity around how we're going to handle these data centers. They're going to exist. We're going to have them. But we have to have them work and function in the right way. And government is doing everyone a huge disservice with how they're handling the data centers. Before we get to that, though, I want to tell you about our guy, Gary Tedrow. We love Gary. Got a great email from Gary yesterday about you fabulous Rob Kendall Show audience members who have contacted him. He's blown away. Already talking with the lender, it never hurts to get a second opinion. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage works with home buyers and homeowners throughout central Indiana, helping them purchase homes, investment properties, refinance, or consolidate debt through their mortgage when it makes sense. Gary believes the right mortgage strategy can make a big difference over time. Do you have questions? Not sure where to start? Visit loansbygary.homes. Loansbygary.homes. And just say, hey, here's my deal, Gary. Here's what's going on. Here's what I'm paying. Here's the terms of my mortgage. Can you help me out? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, you're not out anything. By the way, you can also reach Gary by phone at 317-695-5179. 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow in MLS, number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, in MLS, number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender. All right, let's talk about the data centers. And by the way, if you're new to the program, welcome. Thanks for being a part of this with us. Hit the thumbs up button. Let us know you're here. Let us know you like what we're doing. Let us know you're part of the show today. Leave a comment in the YouTube chat. Join our other fellow chatters, our community there. In order to do that, you got to be a subscriber. Hit that subscribe button. Help us grow this show. We are doing local programming you're not going to hear anywhere else. We need you to help us continue to grow. All right, so this comes from our friends at Wish TV. And another data center appears to be coming, this time to Shelbyville. And you know, I've tried to take a pretty neutral tone on data centers from this perspective. Data centers have to exist. We have to have them. Our life now centers around data centers. I'm not going to lie to you and say they're not important. What we're doing right now, this conversation, is made possible because of a data center. I know somebody yesterday said, well, Google and YouTube have been around for a long time, and these data centers, they didn't exist. Well, they did exist, not to the level they are today, and that's for a couple reasons. Number one, the amount of space, the bandwidth, the infrastructure necessary to put something forward like Google and YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, greater than ever before. When they offer all of these new things or enhanced experiences, or the amount of people that are using the platform, that requires infrastructure. Like it is, you would be, and the average person doesn't have any concept of it, the amount of space, for lack of a better term, it takes to even do this show every day that you guys love. Like, we are pressing the system unlike ever before, and data centers are the way we're going to ensure that we continue to be able to thrive. Look, there's also artificial intelligence. As artificial intelligence continues to grow, continues to become a bigger part of our lives, and there's various levels of artificial intelligence or stuff related to medical fields or medical records or, all of these things. Do you put something into Google and go to AI mode? It's artificial intelligence, right? I've done that. I do that. It's very helpful. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say no more data centers. Artificial intelligence, when you look at, any funny video made by somebody or those, I love those, they take famous movies and have the actors under the Christmas tree. I saw one from Silence of the Lambs the other day. It's AI. Takes space. Data centers. What we have to get our heads around, though, and I know I've preached this before and I'm going to keep preaching it, is putting data centers in the right areas with plans that work for the communities they're going to, both from a land use perspective and, probably most important, from a financial perspective. Data centers are not soup kitchens. They're not poor singing orphans. They're not charities. The people are building these data centers to make money. And good on them. That's great. If there's a service that society wants, they're willing to pay for it, and people pay for it through a variety of means, great. But we shouldn't roll out the red carpet and go, hey, whatever you want, come on in. There has to be a give and a take. There has to be a give back to the communities, which is why it's so frustrating that the General Assembly gutted a bill, which we just talked about this past session, which would have really put some serious coin in the pockets of communities that welcome data centers. And so without any rules or regulations around these data centers, and by the way, when I say rules and regulations, I mean rules and regulations that work for both sides, that there's clarity for the data centers. Hey, if you come here, here's your obligation. Walking in, here's what you're going to have to do. Here's what's expected of you. And from the communities that are welcoming the data centers, here's the obligations. Here's the things you're going to have to do. Here's the roadblocks you could conceivably put up. But everybody knows that going in. Right now, there's none of that. Every community is its own thing, and the data centers have no idea, and every state's its own thing, and you have no idea. What Shelbyville did the other day is outraging people, and it should, and I'm going to talk a little bit. So on our show here, we have two goals. Number one is to entertain you, and number two is to educate you. And this is going to be an opportunity for me to educate on how a very important body of local government actually works and the role that it plays. Okay, so this is, again, the story comes to us from Wish TV. The Shelbyville City Council voted 4-2 last night with one person abstaining. That means they didn't vote. They recused themselves. Typically, you abstain if you have some sort of interest or perceived interest in an issue. Now, if you have a financialist interest, you have to file an official conflict of interest form. Sometimes, and you can recuse for any reason. Sometimes people just say, hey, I know that person that's doing the developing, or, I'm golfing buddies with them, or, family vacations with them. And so I don't have any financial interest in this, but I'm stepping aside. There's a variety of reasons. It doesn't mean anything's nefarious whatsoever. So one person abstained. to approve the annexation and zoning of 429 acres. That is a massive plot of land. 429 acres. If you think about like the average high density housing development now, if you're lucky, you'll have a quarter of an acre. So if you took 4 of those homes, the parcel of land that 4 of those homes sit on, then multiply that by 429. It's a sprawling campus that would be combined with city-owned property for a data center on more than 575 acres with 13 buildings for San Francisco-based, I believe Prologis is how it's pronounced. Prologis, doesn't matter. So in this case, you've got the city partnering with a private developer for the data center. Okay, red flag on that one, right? Now you've got government resources being used for a for-profit company. Giant red flag there. 575 acres. So again, like I said, go to any high-density housing development, take 4 of your homes that you see, multiply that by 575. That's the amount of land we're talking about here in Shelbyville, a still largely rural and ag-based area. So to give you an idea of where this is, the site sits off I-74, the interchange for I-74 and State Road 44. If you're all familiar with that area, if you've gone down 74 over the years, I-74 and 44 interchange. So this is another area. So right now you've got the government working in cahoots with this developer in terms of land acquisition, land availability. Giant red flag. Not great. This is also where something happened that should be of massive concern. According to Wish TV, the first public hearing on the proposal happened January 5th, and the city's planning commission 2 days later gave the zoning request an unfavorable recommendation. You have the city council overruling the planning commission, whose job, and I'll go into this in a little more detail here in a second. By the way, welcome to our show. This is why nobody else is doing a show like we're doing, because we have time. I'm the boss here. I pay for the time. And I have the ability, unlike radio or television, who's got to be in and out in 7 to 9 minutes, we have the time, if something's important, which this is, to educate you on what's going on and how your government works. So you have a city government, and that is using land, is in the land acquisition business to partner with a for-profit developer from all the way on the other side of the country, by the way. And they're overriding their planning commission in order to do it. Now, let me explain to you what the planning commission is. Some of you may know this. For those of you who don't, by the way, we're going to get into it a little bit with Matt Gentry coming up next about the planning commissions with the IEDC and the LEAP district conversation. When someone comes to a town or a city with a land use request, it almost always goes through the planning commission. The planning commission is a 7-member board appointed by the municipal government. Sometimes it's a mixture of the city council and the mayor, or just the town council if you have a town government. And their job is to become experts in land use ordinance in your community. Their job is to live in the world of, what does the governing charter say, past land use ordinances say, and make sure that whatever development is being proposed falls in line with the laws of that city or that town. Their job is not to have emotion. Their job is not to be political. Their job is to read by the letter of the law, what do our ordinances say about how land should be used, and then offer oftentimes a recommendation. It is not ironclad, as we're finding out, but it should pretty much well darn be when it's negative. Now, there are times where I've seen where a planning commission will give a favorable recommendation. The governing body will look at it and go, hey, that while the letter of the law may be met for this, we have concerns, extra concerns about public safety or whatever, and not go with it. Anytime a municipal government is overriding a negative recommendation, though, from a planning commission, giant red flags all around. And in the case of Shelbyville, when you put the fact that the city is partnering with the private developer for land acquisition, and you have a city government overriding a negative recommendation from the planning commission, if you live in Shelbyville, you should be outraged over this. You should be absolutely beside yourself that this is going forward in the manner that it is. Not because the data center is bad, but you have the city partnering with the data center people and overriding the governing body whose job is to look out for the citizens in black and white and ensure that land uses meet the requirements, meet the codes, meet the regulations set forth by the town or city ordinances, rules, regulations. This is, look, again, we've got to get some sort of clarity on these data centers. We have to get some sort of understanding about how we're going to deal with them. Because right now it is the Wild West, and it is the, look at it, as Shelbyville is proving, it's the Wild West even inside the community. You have the people whose job it is to look out for the ordinances passed, to enforce the ordinances passed, and look out for the rights of property owners. That's why the Planning Commission exists. Think about this, right? Like, you would not want, if you live in a residential neighborhood, you would not want a nuclear power plant being built next to you. Why? Because obviously that would decrease the value of your home. It would decrease the ability to sell your home. It would cause a major potential public safety hazard. And I know this sounds silly, but someone has to ensure that doesn't happen. Someone has to look and go, no, our ordinance, Mr. Power Plant Man, will not allow you to build next to a residential neighborhood. It's part of why the people are outraged over the data center going in Indianapolis that got approved the other night. Because there's neighborhoods allegedly all around the place, and the people are pissed off about it. I don't want to live next to a data center. Until we get some very firm, very clear rules and regulations about data centers, we are going to be in the chaos business. We're going to be in the people are pissed off business because people don't understand them. They don't get them. Oftentimes, the data centers are working through the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, which means their financial incentives are shrouded in mystery. It's bad government. It's bad government that are making people more and more outraged, and we're going to reach a tipping point sooner rather than later, and the government is to blame for this. I don't blame the data centers for wanting the best deal. I blame the data centers for communicating poorly. They're not communicating well. But I blame the government for allowing it to happen and move forward. The government has to put its foot down. The government is supposed to be the advocate for the people. The government's supposed to say, wait a second, Mr. or Miss data center owner or proposed data center owner, you have some nice things here that may be a benefit to our community. But we got to be transparent about this. We got to make sure all of our rules are being followed. We got to make sure all of our regulations are being met. We got to make sure our taxpayers, our citizens are being protected. Property owners have rights that extend, and this is unpopular with a lot of civil libertarians, but property owners have rights that extend beyond their own property line. You have a right when you buy a house, when you build a home, to have some reasonable expectation that somebody building around you isn't going to devalue your property. Now, people say, well, my land, my choice. No, that's not how it works in a decent, organized society. Look, landowners have rights. We're going to talk about it up next with Matt Gentry, the mayor of Lebanon, about what rights do the people who live in and around the Leap District in that area, what rights do they actually have to be upset? And you know, I've been a huge advocate for those people. Property owners have rights that extend beyond their property line. And it's true in every community. And it seems like here in Shelbyville, those people may be getting a raw deal. All right, leaky chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home, Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't just offer quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is one of your biggest investments. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, BRAMWELLMCKAY, your masonry, foundation, and chimney specialists. Okay, guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I know it's what many of you have been waiting for. The mayor of Lebanon, Matt Gentry, is going to be here with us. We're going to get into the IEDC. We're going to get into LEAP. We're going to talk about moving water from across the state, places like Eagle Creek, to Lebanon. We're also going to talk about, say the quiet part out loud, the Gentrys are some of those powerful Republicans in the state. Should the Republican Party dump Diego Morales at convention? This is going to be a fascinating interview, and please share it after it airs, because it's great for a lot of things. It's great, one, to get people on the record about how things have happened. It's great to educate people on what's going on, even if you don't agree with it, which I'm sure many of you will not, what he has to say. But he did a service by coming in here and having the conversation. He didn't have to do that. But we need you to share these conversations. We need you to share this feed. Share it right now. Get as many eyeballs on this conversation coming up as you possibly can. And then share it afterwards. Whether it's YouTube, whether we're the Apple to Spotify, help us get the word out. Fascinating conversation with the mayor of Lebanon, Matt Gentry. When we come back, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hi, I'm John Piper. I'm running for Congress in Indiana. I'm the only candidate in the United States of America exposing the crisis we have in mother's breast milk. Purdue University is a major player in that. Purdue is selling our veterinarians to out-of-state corporations for big money. Bobby Kennedy needs to know about it effective immediately. We are 55,000 veterinarians short across the United States. My two major opponents, Craig Haggard and Jim Barrett, are both protecting the Iranian terror cell in Plainfield, Indiana. I'm John Piper. I approve this message. Paid for Friends for Piper for Congress.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434, and mention Rob for a free attic inspection.
I'm Doug Cobb for Clay County Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency back to our local government. As a concerned citizen, I want to know what's going on. We need new and fresh ideas for today's challenges. We need a vision for future generations. As a small business owner, I want to explore and promote opportunities to make us all successful. Let's create a brighter future for Clay County together. I'm Doug Cobb, running for Clay County Commissioner, and I approve this message. Paid for by Linda Cheeson.
Welcome back. Rob Kendall Show, joined in studio. This is going to be a fun conversation. Matt Gentry, mayor of Lebanon, joins us now. Mr. Mayor, hello.
Hello, Robert. That was my best Jim Merritt impression.
As Jim Merritt would say. Perfect. Okay, so let's start with LEAP.
Sure.
Right? Everybody's got an opinion on LEAP. LEAP stands for what, for people who don't know?
Limitless Exploration Advanced Space.
You got it right.
I did.
I was going to be very concerned as the mayor of the housing of the LEAP district if you didn't get that right. So tell us a little bit, because I want to get into, do people have a right to be upset about LEAP, about the LEAP district, about what's going on? But give us sort of the timeline on this, about what LEAP is and how it came on the radar of the city of Lebanon.
Sure. So getting our time machines here a little bit, I'd say back in fall time of 2021, we started hearing rumors someone's buying some land up west of town. There was people were getting, rumor was people were getting letters from places in Memphis, so maybe thought it was a FedEx thing. A lot of rumors flying around. And so, but not in the city, nothing that we knew about from the city standpoint. Nothing being talked about there. So what happened then, early part of 2022, I got a request from the Secretary of Commerce of Indiana to say...
He's the head of the IEDC, correct?
He's the head of the IEDC, correct. And this time it's Brad Chambers.
Brad Chambers. Ran for governor,
yes. And they want to set up a meeting with me. And so we had a meeting scheduled mid-February, something like that. I'm like,
just like the mob, like you go in there, like
no, they wanted to have a meeting, and he had been
leave the gun, take the cannoli.
I don't know about that, but they, and he had come in, I think the summer before, right, was when he kind of came in as Secretary of Commerce for Governor Holcomb at the time, and they said, hey, we want to meet with you, talk about things going on, and I'm like, okay, and at the same time too, we had seen legislation going through the legislature, right, obviously early part of the year. And they had these kind of innovation development districts. And we're kind of like, are these related somehow, et cetera?
So you knew nothing about this?
No.
They don't contact you ahead of time?
Nope. This is, again, we're in mid-February 2021. Finally, he ended up getting COVID. We have to delay for back in those times, right?
Right.
So we have to delay for the 14 days, all that stuff. We finally ended up meeting March 1st. And so, again, session's still going forward. This bill's moving. I think it may have even been passed at that point now, too. So I got to check the timeline on that. But certainly had been past one house because in their second half at that point. And so I'm thinking this is probably related to this, right? I went to my county commissioners, because again, this is not in the city. And I said, hey, these are all these rumors about, we think these are related. We did an executive session with them. And I said, what questions do you want me to ask to the state? We assume the state's behind this. What do we do? They had a lot of questions. And then so the next day I met with the governor, Secretary Chambers. They actually moved the location on me, which, talked about moped earlier.
Right.
Always fun when they moved the location last minute, right?
They probably like you better than they like me, though.
Yeah. They brought me into we moved it to the governor's office from the IDC offices. And so I'm like, okay, this is big, right?
Right.
And so it was governor and Secretary Chambers. And then it was David Rosenberg, who became the IDC director or president, IDC president at that point. And I think
did you know anything about the IEDC before this?
We had interactions with them, just typical economic development, as I'm sure you had back when you were on the town council in Brownsburg.
They didn't like me then either.
Yeah, but I would say, and as you know, in economic development, most of the I would say it's a Sunday, right?
Right.
And the ice cream and the syrup is coming from the locals on the property taxes, right? And then the state is the cherry on top with the tax credits, right? So
they're making the whole...
They get all the attention and credit for it, right? But the locals do a lot of the major lifting when it comes to the incentive package. But anyway...
Before IEDC, before LEAP, right?
Correct. Yeah. And we had done, $750 million of investment prior to LEAP in Lebanon. So we had kind of already been moving, shaking, a lot of momentum, great things happening. But yeah, anyway, so we met in the governor's office. They kind of laid out the vision, so to speak. And, so it's Rosenberg, Holcomb, Chambers, and then Kurt Fulbeck, who was kind of the point guy for the LEAP project.
What is the vision? By the way, Matt Gentry, the mayor of Lebanon, is our guest. I think this is one thing people struggle with. They have no idea what the hell's going on out there. Well, what is the vision?
Let me say one more point here. So my very first question, because people bring this all the time, is like, well, they didn't think about water. my very first question to the governor was, hey, this all sounds like a great idea, but we need to have water because water is an issue for Lebanon, has been for a long time. My predecessor worked on it. We're going to have to solve it. And they said, oh, yeah, we'll work through you. We'll help you. We'll support water. So like, okay, win for me, right?
They didn't tell you what it was, though? They weren't like,
no. So, no, we're laying out the vision, right? And essentially, it's Indiana's version of the Research Triangle Park in North Carolina.
Yes.
Right? You've probably heard of that. It's, and there's other states doing similar things. A lot of things happening, Columbus area in Ohio. Essentially, it was Indiana's way to get these kind of mega sites and get, we talked about the name earlier. In economic development, the speed to market is so critical, and it frankly was very critical after the COVID, just because they were trying to get the economy kind of fired up again, and sites that were, I say shovel ready, but were planned, designed, ready to go. That was a huge incentive for companies.
Do you have any say over this, or are they just like, we're telling you what we're going to do, and you're allowed to be included?
Well, at that point, they told me, hey, we had this land under contract.
So they'd already bought the land by the time they went to you?
Not bought, under contract.
They were moving forward by
agreed upon purchase price. Yes. Right. But they had assembled 6,000 acres or so. They were talking with other landowners to, acquire even more. It was
happen in your hometown. Well, it's not in the town limits, but your hometown, and nobody knows what's going on. What are these people? The CIA?
Well, there was a fundamental. So the property owners they're working with, as part of the purchase agreement or sales agreement, they would not. There was NDAs with them, right? So they would not sign. Now, they were also given this authority by the state legislature to go do this, right, and the funding, right? And so, looking back on it, that was always my concern from the beginning. Is like, you guys rolled this out terribly, right? There was back in late March, because go back to my story timeline wise. After we meet with the governor, I then go meet with our county commissioners again and said, okay, here's their answers, right? Here's what's happening. It's all in your territory, so it's not in the city. So what do you guys want to do? And we're going to have a public meeting. So then, end of March of 2022, they have the big public meeting at Western Boone, talk about what's happening. That's kind of when they blow the lid off of it, but that's when they kind of go to the public and talk about what it all was. And so that's when people really understood who was behind it, what was happening with it. And that's just kind of how it all shook out.
Okay. At some point, this comes into the city of Lebanon, though, right?
Yeah, it does, because over time, again, as I said, not in the city, but they need utilities. Right. The plan is to do this big, have these mega sites, have a mixed use village district part of it as well, too, with training center, development, mixed use projects, things like that. So, yeah, they're going to need utilities. And obviously this is all currently farmland. There's no utilities out there. And so part of, when they did the annexation changes back in, I can't remember back in the day, but, my policy has always been as mayor is that we're not going to annex you or we're not going to send utilities to you unless you're in the city.
Right.
Because
I think it's fair.
Yeah, I think there's very little incentive to annex things that aren't, or to send utilities to that aren't part of the city. And also, every annexation I've ever done as mayor has been 100% voluntary, right? So you have to agree and request to be annexed, right? So as mayor, I've never annexed anybody against their will, right? So they've always agreed and requested to be annexed into the city.
Okay, so at any point as mayor, because you're from Lebanon to some extent.
I've lived there. I've lived there in town ever since the day I left my college apartment, and then I've lived in the Boone County since 2001.
Right. So you've been around the area. At any point, did you look at the state and go? And I'm going to ask you if the pissed off farmers have a point here in a minute. But at any point, did you go, I don't think this is for us. I just don't think this is this still a Simpsons line. It's more of a Shelbyville type of idea. At any point where you're like, this is a lot, and we're a pretty rural area.
I don't really agree with your characterization that we're super rural. We're on I-65. We're literally halfway between Lafayette, Indianapolis. Boone County has been the second fastest growing county in the state for probably 2 decades now, right? Whitestown has been the fastest growing community in Indiana for a long time as well, too, just percentage wise. So they've always, frankly, talked about growth coming to Lebanon since before I was born, so the mid 80s, right? I have older guys in town that are like, yeah, we thought Lebanon was going to boom back in the 80s. And for a long time, Lebanon pushed it away. And frankly, the county zoning was so restrictive as well that you couldn't have people build little 1 acre plots and do their homesteads, that it allowed 10,000 acres there to be available within 3 to 4 miles of a major interstate, right? So I don't think I ever said, I kind of said, well, okay, this is coming, right? And
how would they have done it without it being in town, though? See, I think that's what, like, I think in some levels you're a victim of this thing, but how would they have done it without it being in the city of Lebanon?
If the county was on board with it, which at the time I think there were 2 commissioners that were supportive of it, they could have certainly done a regional sewer district. They could have done some regional supply issues and things like that too. So they could have created a utility to serve it. But I didn't think that was made a lot of sense just from a overall standard, and frankly from the timeline that they were trying to deliver it. Really, at the end of the day, the city became the only option. So I don't think, I've always talked about Lebanon trying to, we're able to, we're kind of the last spoke on the wheel that's growing. And so we've been able to learn a lot of lessons from other places. I spent my first really full term focusing on what do we need to do to prepare for our future. So I wouldn't say it surprised me. I mean, certainly it surprised me from the scale standpoint of coming in and there'd be 10,000 acres. Now, on some level, I could argue that there's more value saying, hey, here's a larger vision master planned area versus in developing 150 acres at a time as home builders kind of come in and do their things too.
Matt Gentry, the mayor of Lebanon, is our guest. All right, so were you surprised at the pushback? Not just the people are against it, but the outspoken way. And has that at any point swayed what you guys have decided to do or the way you've approached the LEAP district?
Well, I think the pushback, it's certainly a very loud vocal minority. Right. And so, no, at the end of the day, my job is to serve what's in the best interest of the citizens of Lebanon. That's who elects me. And I don't think you can look at LEAP with an honest lens and say this is going to be a phenomenal situation for the city of Lebanon. So that's my job is to serve them. Obviously, I was in re-election in 2023. I won 60% of the vote in the primary, wasn't opposed in the general. So I think there has been opposition, but a lot of people that are opposed to it are certainly adjacent to it, next to it. And I told them from the beginning, I said, this is happening. There's a process for this. We're going to follow the process and do that. But your best bet is to be part of the process and be engaged and figure out what can you live with. And there was some that did that and some that didn't. But we look at what we did from a zoning perspective. We put in massive buffers on these things. We put in protections. I've always had the approach that LEAP is going to pay for LEAP, and that's been how we've been operating. So, again, from a citizens of Lebanon perspective, LEAP is going to be a huge positive for them.
What are those people missing? Because I've obviously interviewed many of them. They seem like very nice people. They don't seem like they're on the run from the law or years of scheming and scamming and dishonesty. They feel very, very passionate about this. What are they missing?
I think they're missing that change is inevitable. And I think because they got very accustomed to the fact that change hadn't happened and they just assumed that was going to be the default setting. And as you know, change is actually the one thing that is constant, right? And so certainly at the scale probably took them at unease, right? Of all of a sudden it's this massive and, what used to be, corn and soybean fields, there's a plan for it and that made them nervous. So I understand that, but I think, back when my parents moved west of town, my parents live a mile from LEAP, right? So they're living there too. They bought that house in 2006, my senior year of high school. They asked the realtors, like, so how long do you think before the city's out here? Right. And again, 6 miles west of town. The realtor said, you probably got 6 years, right, or so. And my dad's like, okay, that's fine. My sons will be through 4-H. We can do our pigs and all that stuff, and we're fine. It didn't happen, right? You had the Great Recession of 2008. Right. But so development's finally happening, frankly, 20 years after, people were thinking about it. And I think sometimes people have a very easy or their natural instinct is to just assume it's not going to change. And, I'm going to move out in the country and they didn't go far enough. Right. Or thought it would never change.
Matt Gentry, the mayor of Lebanon, is our guest. All right. Enough about these people in Lebanon. I want to talk about how I'm being affected.
Sure. Fine.
I got the right to be upset. Right. Can we agree the IEDC, that there have got to be major changes done to the IEDC? Trying to put together how much money they've put into this district, you've got to be Ben Matlock with Tyler Hudson working for you to try to figure this out. I
don't get that reference, Rob. Sorry.
Oh, you're not a Matlock fan?
No.
Sorry. Andy Griffith had a show called Matlock.
Oh, okay.
On Andy Griffith,
right.
and Tyler Hudson was his investigative report, or his investigative whatever they call it.
I am a little bit younger than
detective.
you. Okay.
You're like 3 years younger than me. Anyway, okay. Well, I missed that one, but. It is very hard to get accurate information about what's gone on with the IEDC and LEAP. Don't we have a right to have better information? I mean, this thing, as you're laying out, was way down the line before you even had wind of it, much less me, and I'm paying for it because I'm a state taxpayer. There's major problems with the IEDC, aren't there?
I think looking back, obviously the IEDC has been in the news about all these things, and I certainly agree to certain things that kind of came out, especially during the audit that Governor Braun did. Certainly raised some eyebrows and questions. But the LEAP really wasn't the focus of that, and really wasn't the problem in that audit. If you look at that and read that,
the audit's looking for outward shenanigans, not as bad public policy.
Yeah,
I mean, we're finding shenanigans, and then we can get to the bad. Public policy.
I think the challenge is, though, you have other states that have these economic development corporations as well too, right? And so, you want to unilaterally disarm, and then all of a sudden other states can file FOIA requests to get your information of what you're offering to companies. It's kind of a slippery slope. In fact, that's kind of why Governor Daniels re-triggered and tried to fix how the Department of Commerce worked to actually implement the IEDC, because there weren't those protections, and frankly, I think the state was losing deals. So I like anything in government, I think there's certainly ways to improve every day and make those changes, but we're not in our sandbox alone. There's other states that are competing with us, and I think you have to think on that level, and frankly also think on a global level too, because we're competing globally, not just
But that's my question, is what am I getting out of this? I know hundreds of millions of my dollars have gone out the door. I know you've got a mega corp that's building a $10 billion facility in your community. Great for you. I mean, you guys have given a mega abatement. So, that's your
talk about that,
your finances. I don't care. I don't live in Lebanon. I care when you start taking my money. And now I know I've got a mega corp that I'm spending hundreds of millions of dollars to attract. There's all sorts of things that still aren't settled, even though they told you years ago, hey, we got that water, no problem.
Well, we're going to get into that. I think we're close to that.
What am I getting out of this? Because every year, my tax burden increases all over the place. And I see all this money from a shadow government entity. Great for you. I'm not disputing that probably for the finances of the city of Lebanon. I don't live there.
Do you think people in Brownsburg may work in LEAP one day?
I don't think there's many people from Brownsburg that are going to Facebook and to Lilly because they have a huge track record of bringing in foreign workers. The IEDC give out these HB1 visas. It's irrefutable. The amount of HB1 workers from foreign countries, many of them from India, which we're going to talk about Diego here in a second, because I think that's the one thing we agree on.
We agree on a lot of things, Rob.
I don't see much benefit to me as a taxpayer that I'm giving all this money for Facebook, a megacorp, and Lilly, a megacorp, who, by the way, give huge money back to politicians when we don't have enough money for Medicaid, our roads are a disaster, and we're throwing these hundreds of millions of dollars out. We're so unconfident about what we're doing, it's got to be done through a shadow government operation that I can't figure out where my money's going.
Well, I would say this. We live in a regional economy, right? And so I think my standpoint is I think LEAP helps the entire central Indiana region, and I think it helps the entire state.
How?
Well, fun. I mean, one, we're going to look at what Caterpillar did in Lafayette back in the 80s when Caterpillar and also Subaru came to Lafayette. We have suppliers in Lebanon that serve Caterpillar and Subaru both, right? Frankfurt does, Crawfordsville does, right? So these large-scale economic developments have ripples, and I think that's where communities like Brownsburg, if you want to talk specifically, but also frankly the entire region, from the life sciences corridor that they're developing over in Hamilton County, what they're doing at Crossroads and by our Crossroads and what they're doing at Purdue. I think there's so many facets that all these come together and create an ecosystem that if you look at the Research Triangle Park, North Carolina, that has ripples to that entire state for what it does from a level rising incomes for people, improving that state forward, moving it forward.
So spend it. We never get any money back. The tax rate is never higher.
Well, that's a leadership problem, right? Then that's if you're unhappy with that, that's fine. That's a leadership.
But I think
problem.
this is part of the leadership, right? We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to help Lilly and Zuckerberg.
Well, but look what Lilly's done for our state. I mean, I think Lilly has been phenomenal.
Here we go.
No, they've been a phenomenal corporate citizen.
They got a market cap
look at
$900 billion.
Agree.
Matt.
They've been
They're
doing
not running a soup kitchen.
No, agree. But what has the Lilly Foundation done? Right?
But
what does that do for community foundations all across the entire state?
the Black Hand was giving out oranges in The Godfather. Did everyone's like, oh, he's such a great guy? Come on now. Look, I think it's great for you. I just don't see any financial benefit because my tax burden keeps increasing, and we're told all these projects are so great.
But the way it's structured, though, certainly there are upfront costs that your representatives in the State House approved to fund the IEDC, correct? You had representation at the State House when that was approved?
What, you're acting like I'm on board with
No. I'm saying, I know, and that's fine. If you didn't like that, then they could be changed, right? But you were represented in the State House. Decision was made to fund these projects, right?
Through a shadow government entity. Why didn't they do it out in the sun? Look, if it had not been for the Star and Indiana Capital Chronicle and the stuff that we did, a lot of this stuff came out because of investigative journal. That Three Kings stuff.
Yeah,
those guys, come on.
And again, you keep bringing that up. That's not related to LEAP at all.
But it is.
Right?
It's the same company. It's like saying, well, this side of this company was completely shady and unethical and corrupt and underhanded. But this side over here, it was fine. Nobody look at this because they're not even the same. They're all the same group. The fact that they were this, and I appreciate you, and you've always been honest about this. You and I disagree on this. They were that far down the line on something of this magnitude before they even told you, much less the people, is gross.
And I agree. It was gross. And that was always my feedback to them. It says, you guys this should have been your first call, should have been like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Like this discussion should have happened 6 months ago. And frankly, I think is a reflection that Secretary Chambers has a business background, right? Development background. And that was his idea. Like, let's just go do it, right? Get the land under contract. That's just what you do in development. And that's just very different what happens in government, as you know, right? And so, yeah, they got off the wrong foot. And frankly, I think we've been playing catch up this whole time through it. But I think it's going to be really hard to deny that there are going to be huge benefits from LEAP through the entire state and the region, frankly, just what that will do of having those companies in the area.
All right, let's talk about water.
Sure.
There's a lot of water being pumped in from Eagle Creek, or potentially being pumped in from Eagle Creek.
Not yet. Nope.
Well, I mean, they want to. They wanted to do it from Lafayette. It feels like y'all are just taking other people's stuff to help you out. What am I missing?
Why don't you make a statement? I'll correct the where you're wrong, Rob. Because
there was a proposal to pump huge amounts of water from Lafayette.
Yep.
That went over like a lead balloon.
So when that was going on at the time, there was a semiconductor fab facility like the one in Intel in Ohio that was looking at LEAP, right? And so certainly with semiconductor facilities, they require a lot of water. What happened was the numbers were 100 million gallons of water a day, right? And so the discussions happening were, could we use economic development, the semiconductor fab, to also solve a longer-term regional water problem that Indianapolis has of how to, there's limitations to what we have from that supply. So, yeah, there were exploratory investigations happening up in Lafayette area. They got
way past exploratory. They're spending all this money on these studies, and the reason they did that was because they got caught with the pushback.
No. The studies were part of the exploratory process.
Look,
they were.
The problem.
Hold on, Rob. Let me finish.
Matt, these are the same people that we've caught being shady on all this other stuff, and then you just want to go, oh, it's just all above board on this one. Don't pay any attention to the Three Kings articles or the
again, not related to LEAP on that,
but I understand. But it's the same people. It's the Holcomb administration. It's the same people.
None of the people I worked with the IEDC were in the Three Kings article. So let's not bring it up.
It's the same. But
Rob, again,
there were probably in people that were decent too.
Can we talk about the water? Right, we're talking about the water. So long story short, right, the chip fab decides to go elsewhere, right? It doesn't pick Indiana, doesn't pick LEAP district, right? Okay, so that's why that gets dropped, right? But if they had selected to go there. In Indiana, we have what are called riparian water rights, which essentially means that if you own the property, you can stick a well in and pull it out, what you need, right?
Right.
Now you got to report those things to DNR, and you're not allowed to impact your neighbors, and most importantly, right? Right. So the water itself is a state resource. That's how it's looked at, right? And so again, with these larger project, the IEDC was thinking we could use economic development to solve. We know Indianapolis has a long-term water problem. Use that, would come to Lebanon, be used in the chip fab, treated, cleaned, and then Indianapolis could then use it as well too later. So like that's where it happened in Lafayette. So it didn't, and I hear this a lot, right? It's like, oh, Lafayette, well, we stopped them. Like, no, they didn't stop them. The chip fab went elsewhere, which is why the project got dropped, because then it is no longer feasible. Because that would have been a $50 billion investment just in that one chip fab, and you need that in order to pay for the pipeline and infrastructure to make it happen.
Again, okay, so let's go to, if we're all about helping everybody, now there's going to be a bunch of money or a bunch of money and water potentially pumped in from Eagle Creek. Mm-hmm. The people along that pipe route, I know there's many people who live in my community who have said, hey, you're going to take my property to do this. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'd like to be able to tap into this because I'm on a well, right? Which those people made the choice to live on a well, but the neighborly thing to do, if it's a water issue, and it's not just about serving mega corporations, would be to say, okay, we'll let those people tap in. And they said, no deal.
So two issues there. So one, Lebanon entered agreement with Citizens Water, Citizens Energy to provide water. So they had a water supply.
Help you guys with that?
No, that was something we negotiated with Citizens.
How does that work? Like, you go to them and say, hey, we need a bunch of water, and then they just go, well, like, what's it for? Like, how does the negotiation work?
I mean, this was over the course of, years.
So they know where it's going.
Yeah.
And Citizens is a monopoly that depends upon the government to give them said monopoly.
Well, they're a charitable trust. Yeah. But
they're a monopoly, right? They're not, I mean, they're not running a soup kitchen.
Okay.
But
they're not a for-profit utility though either.
I understand.
So they're not.
But you understand all this. The average person looks at all this.
Yeah, it's complicated.
It's the same thing with the IEDF, the Indiana Economic Development Foundation. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a nonprofit, but it's paid for by the utilities, who are controlled by the government, who are granted rate increases by the government.
They're not paid for. The utilities contribute. I mean, I agree, and that's. I mean, they're sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's all so. So they have this opportunity to help people who really need it.
So back to that answer, right? So my point was we entered Citizens on the water supply agreement. They're going to use their system to deliver the water the best way they do it, right? So some of it's coming from the south, some of it's coming from the east, right? So it's not just all come from Eagle Creek. I think that's a big point that you keep repeating. I wanted to clarify.
But it is millions of gallons.
The plant is 25 million gallons of water, right? Now back to the concern of the people along the route.
Well, the issue is I want to make sure you got upset about the number, right? And it's 25 million gallons total
from Citizens' entire system, not just from Eagle Creek.
But every estimate I've seen, I've read multiple reports on this, is that it'll end up being between 10 and 13 million gallons from Eagle Creek.
No, 1 to 3.
That is initially, but over time, there's multiple reports out, Matt, saying that.
That is from Citizens' websites, 1 to 3.
Matt, initially,
the bulk of the water is actually coming from the east, from the Westfield.
Okay, all right. So when so in a couple years or a decade, when it's 10 to 13, I call you.
Have you back on? I'll be happy to be like, see, I was right, Rob.
Whoops. Yeah, okay. All right.
So to go to your friends that wanted to tap into the well, the pipeline. The issue is an engineering problem. Right. These are massive supply pipelines. Right. Mm-hmm. So these are 36, 48-inch wide pipes full of water. Right. Mm-hmm. So running a supply line off to their house to get them off their well, their shower head would blow off of their wall because of the pressure, if you release the pressure. Right. So it's an engineering issue is why those people can't have a direct attachment off that supply line.
But again, you understand why people are upset, right? They say, once again, there's always some plan for the megacorps. There's no plan for me.
But the water is coming to the city of Lebanon. It's not coming to Lilly. It's not. There are our customers, right?
And who?
But also residents, businesses.
These are for megacorps. Come on,
because they're paying for it, right? We're using, and this is complicated as well, but we are using LEAP to pay for LEAP, right? So we're not burdening our current ratepayers to pay for all the pipelines. So again, that's where I've always from the beginning, LEAP needs to pay for LEAP, and so the rate structure built in, Lilly and Meta, their usage, that is what helps pay for all these pipelines to ensure that my current ratepayers, my mom and dads, and grandma and grandpas, and aunts and uncles, and local small pop businesses that are living in Lebanon now aren't paying for the additional water, which again, going back to our first conversation, Lebanon has needed water for a long time. I had, my predecessor was trying to get more water to Lebanon before I came in as mayor.
Never got that without LEAP. Matt, you would have never got that without LEAP.
No, that's not true because
because they love the city of Lebanon.
No, we were talking with Citizens before LEAP, and
how was it going?
It was going fine. Yeah, but
have the deal?
the cost was, the problem is it would have done doubled our water rates to pay for it, right? Or we've gone from about $30 to $45 or $60 a month for water because pipelines are expensive.
Great
right?
for you. Again, it's another deal. It's great for you.
I know. I'm glad you appreciate I've negotiated this well, right? But my point is, but that was for 2 million gallons of water, right? And it would have had that significant of a rate impact.
Soprano. That's like saying Tony Soprano comes in and goes, "I'm glad you agreed with my." You guys used the most heavy-handed shadow government operation imaginable to do LEAP.
You're saying I did it. What do you mean I did it?
The city of Lebanon is the beneficiary of a shadow, heavy-handed quasi-government operation that hides everything because they know it's shady as hell. Look, you're the mayor. Good for you. It doesn't benefit the taxpayers. It benefits you guys.
Every action's happened in LEAP, though, has been done at the City Council of Lebanon's meetings, which are live streams, YouTube, and publicly available. So I mean, yeah, maybe the genesis idea came from the IEDC, but everything that needed to be approval-wise has been done at a public meeting.
But that's like saying a guy robbed a bank and he handed me money. He goes, well, he handed me the money, but he robbed the bank to get the money. The origins of your money, the origins of your resources. And I think this
was the state legislature that approved the funding of the IEDC.
Exactly. It's a legalized mafia. Come on, Matt. This is why I think
you're stretching a little bit.
These people are so outraged because they see the government rolling over backwards to help foreign, in many cases across our state, foreign, or at least foreign in the sense of they're not from here, mega corporations who are going to come in here and hire predominantly foreign workers, both foreign from this country and foreign from this state. You know that as well as I do. We do not have the workforce for what they need. We're paying for it. The amount of HB1 workers who have come in from these IEDC projects over the past 10 years, and I'm not blaming you, it's not your fault, but I think people get angry with you when you feel like it feels like you are a professional cheerleader for a quasi-government entity that has been exposed to be horribly corrupt, horribly unethical, and a lot of people feel like they got screwed on this project. Like, I feel like you should be able to appreciate why taxpayers hate the IEDC, why they're so upset. You're just the one guy, the one community that was the big winner in all of this. Great for you. I don't agree with the project. I don't like the project.
And we've talked before. I know you fundamentally disagree, right? But I don't think any other mayor in the state of Indiana would have said no to this. Right. Well, so I mean, if you want to like be mad at me, fine. But again, Lebanon's the unique position we are, right? Based on our geography, right? Based on, again, going back to the fact that our county planning was so restrictive that it allowed 10,000 acres to be available that close to the
And you are here. So, we give you credit. Most people would not come in here.
I will talk with you, Rob. We'll just have a chat.
All right. So before we let you go, Republican Party convention. Are you a delegate?
I'm not. I did not run this year.
You're done. You're retiring. Are you permanently retiring?
Well, I don't know about that. We'll see. No, I
you want your life back? Is that what you wanted? You want to stop dealing with people like me?
At some level, I started this job when I was 20. I first ran when I was 25. Right, elected when I was 26. Single guy. Right now, married, 3 kids. Yeah, my life's changed a little bit in the last 10 years or so. So, having a little bit of more personal time, and I can think of a few different things I can do than go spend a weekend in Fort Wayne and vote on people.
But you are a Republican in good standing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're well thought of. You don't even have to fight with people about it, like me.
Yeah.
Should the Republicans dump Diego Morales at convention?
Yes. Yeah, you're
going to get in trouble for saying that.
Yeah, well, there are other candidates that can be selected, right? So what I would say is, I think Diego was a reaction to Governor Holcomb, right? And certainly there was a core of our party that was very upset about Holcomb, understandably so, about how COVID was handled, right? Understandable. But in order to get back at him, they elected Diego as Secretary of State instead of Holly Sullivan. Now, I had my own dealings with Diego before, right? I mean, we were helping my father's company, and then I kind of help out with on the side. We'd helped Jim Baird in his first race, which was against Steve Braun, Diego, and Jim, right? So, and we had kind of had some in-runs with Diego then too, so I kind of knew who Diego was already, right? I kind of had the read on him. But frankly, I just think he's kind of a. Frankly, I think the best word for him is a charlatan and an opportunist. I mean, that's really the biggest thing. You look at what he's done resume-wise. You love talking about how he's been fired from the office, right? Yeah. Just so many red flags, right? But again, I think frankly, he's a product that reveals the weakness of a convention style nomination process in today's day and age.
Should they get rid of it altogether?
I think, Vox Populi, Vox Dei. I think the
what'd you say?
Sorry, it's a little Latin for you.
Oh,
Vox
we speak English here on this show.
Voice of the people is the voice of God, right? So I believe that we should have. I think, frankly, that all primaries in Indiana should be, or all nominations should be primaries, primary elections.
People go vote.
Yeah. You actually vote for a person. Not have party insiders pick people. And this extend this to.
Why do they keep supporting him? They know what he is. These are your people. Explain your people to me.
I think they're in a tough spot, right? Because he's an elected official, right? He's the one in the office. I think behind closed doors, they'll tell you they probably would agree with me, right, on all this situation. But their hands are tied, so to speak, right? Because they need to be, as the party, they have to be a fair arbiter, right? As you saw at the convention with Micah, right? They're the ones who are doing the voting machines, right?
Sorry about that one. I'm taking blame for that one.
Yeah.
That was on me.
Yeah, okay.
I own that.
That's all right. It's okay.
My heart was in the right place. If y'all in the local government hadn't been screwing up the property tax, I wouldn't have had to do that. So this is really your fault.
We can dive into that too, Rob, but yeah, I think the party has to stay neutral, right? And so I don't think they can try to get, but also he's an elected official, right? So there's a balance they have to have.
Yeah, but who disappears to a foreign country for 10 days? No person is like...
Agreed. I called him a charlatan, and I stand by that. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what he is. And to your point, he's constantly used that office for political gain. Yeah, and like, what does he do? I mean, that's the thing. And so I think he's in, granted, I will say, I think he's going to win the convention.
You think he's going to win?
I think he's going to win, right? And that's, again, a reflection.
Well, Shelton's going to be in here on Friday.
I wish him luck. But I think the way the structure, the way the structure is, the way the influence party chair or county party chairs have at the convention, it's an outsized influence, right? And so I think it's an uphill battle for Dave. Wish him the best of luck. But I think Diego's going to win, and if that happens, I think 2026 is going to be a bad year for Republicans, and I think wouldn't be surprised if Bo Bai wins.
All right. Hey, this has been fun. And just so you know, I'm going to tell you now, when we come back, I'm going to comment on some of the things you said. I don't want us to get into it again like the last time. I don't want to get a new nickname for you.
I wanted to going back to that, right? We had a great discussion. Right?
Yeah.
And I just, when you came back, you just came back hot, and you kind of just...
do that with every interview.
That's not true. Rob, I listened to you for years. It's not true.
Well, I'm telling you, and I think you said some good things, and I think you said some things I disagree with, but you're here, and that's what matters, and more people need to be like.
I'm always happy to chat. And that's the thing. I mean, and that's what drives me nuts most, is I think people, you're hiding this, you don't want to... I'm like, I'm on Facebook constantly engaging with people, trying to tell them the truth. They're just like, well, you're a liar, right?
Does that bother you, what people say?
Yeah, because it
does bother you?
I have no incentive. Well, I have a pretty thick skin now.
Yeah,
right. It's more of the people assume, that. I mean, the thing that people said about me, like, I'm taking money, I'm corrupt. I mean, just I constantly send reference, like, here's the FBI local corruption line. Feel free to call and have them look. I don't care. Good luck. Usually they stop commenting after that. But it's just this constant thing. And frankly, back in the day, I think people, whether justified or not, I think people respected the person in a position, right? You're the mayor. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt at least.
Right.
And I think that's gone now. And I think COVID, to your point, has probably destroyed that.
Yeah.
And I think now its assumption is everybody's in on it. It's all a disaster, and we can't trust any of them. And I think that's just a really toxic mentality that people have. And some people just can't get out of that, still in their own spin cycle on that.
Matt Gentry, thank you.
Good job,
Mayor
Rob.
of Lebanon. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Hi, I'm Lauren Wilson, a realtor with App Properties. Born and raised right here in central Indiana and a Hoosier through and through. Selling your home is a massive undertaking, and I completely understand what that is. That's why when you work with me, we put a great plan together to make sure that when your home comes to the market, it is in the best light possible. Again, I'm Lauren Wilson, 317-590-2290. 317-590-2290. Let's put a plan together and get your home sold.
I'm Doug Cobb for Clay County Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency back to our local government. As a concerned citizen, I want to know what's going on. We need new and fresh ideas for today's challenges. We need a vision for future generations. As a small business owner, I want to explore and promote opportunities to make us all successful. Let's create a brighter future for Clay County together. I'm Doug Cobb, running for Clay County Commissioner, and I approve this message. Paid for by Linda Cheesem.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Hi, I'm John Piper. I'm running for Congress in Indiana. I'm the only candidate in the United States of America exposing the crisis we have in mother's breast milk. Purdue University is a major player in that. Purdue is selling our veterinarians to out-of-state corporations for big money. Bobby Kennedy needs to know about it effective immediately. We are 55,000 veterinarians short across the United States. My two major opponents, Craig Haggard and Jim Barrett, are both protecting the Iranian terror cell in Plainfield, Indiana. I'm John Piper. I approve this message. Paid for Friends for Piper for Congress.
Guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to get into some commentary on that interview you just heard because I think there were some fascinating things said. Before we do that, though, if you haven't done so yet, if you're new with us today, hit that little thumbs up button. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know you like what we're doing here at the Rob Kendall Show. We are totally dependent upon you the people, helping us grow. One way you can do that, hit that thumbs up button. Also, subscribe to the channel. That's the sort of what you just saw. That's the sort of great local content we do every single day here on this program. So hit that subscribe button and let your friends know about our YouTube channel. Link back to this feed. Let them know they can watch that interview here. Please let them know that is how we grow. Before we talk about the interview, I did want to tell you guys about our friends at Vent Savvy. Let me ask you something. When you take a hot shower, does your mirror stay fogged up for 10 or 15 minutes? If it does, your bathroom fan is not doing its job. And that moisture doesn't just disappear. It gets trapped in your walls, your ceiling, even your attic. Over time, that can mean mold, insulation damage, expensive repairs most homeowners never see coming. This is where our guys from Vent Savvy come in. Here's what you do. Listen to this deal with Vent Savvy. You go to ventsavvy.com, VENTSAVVY.com, VENTSAVVY.com. You say, hey, heard about your ad on Rob's show. And John, the owner, he's going to come out to your house personally, no charge. Zero charge for him to show up. He's going to take a look around. He's going to get up in your attic. He'll do an inspection, see if he finds anything. If he doesn't, he'll say, hey, you're good to go. Thanks for listening to Rob's show. Have a nice day. But if he does find something, he's going to lay that out to you, and then you make the choice of what you want to do with that. Free inspection when you mention our show, Rob Kendall Show, at Vent Savvy, VENTSAVVY.com. All right, coming up here in just a little bit, producer Jason going to have the best YouTube comments of the day. You guys have been on fire. That Matt Gentry interview had a lot of you guys fired up. We'll read some of those comments. That is coming up here in just a little bit. You got to be a subscriber in order to comment. Hit that little subscribe button. YouTube comments each day brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. All right, so let's talk about that interview we did with Matt Gentry. That interview right there is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. That interview, we did 40 minutes. And first of all, Matt Gentry deserves a lot of credit. I know a lot of people didn't like a lot of what he had to say. I didn't like a lot of what he had to say. But Matt Gentry deserves a lot of credit for coming in here and sitting. He just sat here for an hour. We weren't going to take up the whole hour doing it. But he would have sat here and he answered the questions. Whether you like what he had to say or not, and I know many of you are with me, you don't like it. He did what the politicians, what the elected officials should be doing, which is coming in here and answering the hard questions, and he took all the smoke, and I felt we had a very respectful, productive conversation. So credit for that. But that interview right there, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. There's no way you could do that interview in 7 minutes. There's no way you could do that interview in 9 minutes. There's no way you could do that interview in 20 minutes. It's too big. It's too complicated. You need 40 minutes for a conversation like that, and you're not going to get that anywhere but right here. So that's why we need you to help us grow this program. Those sort of conversations are the reason we are here, because that's what you deserve. You're not going to get that on radio anymore. You're not going to get that on television anymore. There's too many layers to the IEDC. There's too many layers to the Leap District. There's too many layers to what's going on with the water in Eagle Creek or what was proposed with the water in Lafayette. You can't rush it. It's too important. It's too important. Look, I will say this, and we'll keep this brief, and we may get into this a little more tomorrow because I want to have plenty of time for your comments because, like I said, you guys were outstanding on the comments today. But I think one of the problems, look, when I was a kid, when I was growing up, I'm a Hoosier lifer, Central Indiana. When I was growing up, my town was good enough. Where I grew up was good enough. It's part of why I live next to the house I grew up in. And forgive me for a second, I'm getting a little emotional as I'm talking about this, but the street I grew up on, the people I grew up with, the place I called home, the corner drugstore in the downtown, the Harley's restaurant, Nelson's Jewelers, the Snakebite Saloon, that was good enough for me. Like, I love these towny, the Facebook pages that exist that are dedicated to my hometown and the old photos, because it was my core and it was good enough for me. And I would have been fine if my town had stayed that forever, because it's what a Hoosier meant, being a Hoosier meant to me. And I know for many of you, your hometown was good enough. And the places you grew up, and the fields and the farm fields and the identity of the community was good enough. And I think a major problem that we have seen play out over the past, I don't know, really 20 years, but it's been sort of in overdrive the past 10 to 15. Being a Hoosier wasn't good enough for many of our politicians. What it meant to be a Hoosier wasn't good enough. We had to compete with everyone. Well, the Triangle in North Carolina. Look, I've been to that Triangle in North Carolina. I've been to Raleigh many times. Owned a radio station. In fact, had a show. Years before State House happenings, there was the Road to Raleigh, which aired each week on the terrestrial radio station. Raleigh ain't that great. I remember making that drive thinking, this sucks. Give me the farm fields. Give me the quiet. Give me the peace. Give me the people that I know. And I think Indiana got in the competition game rather than the serving Hoosiers game. You know, when the mayor, Matt Gentry, talks about these jobs that Facebook's going to create or Lily's going to create, they're not hiring people for the most part that are from here. When he talked about Caterpillar or these other places in the 80s, they lifted Hoosiers. Those were jobs Hoosiers could do. Those were jobs of Hoosiers who lived in those communities. We all know Lilly and Facebook are bringing outsiders in. Many of them will be actual foreigners on HB1 visas or various types of visas. We got so into the competition game, we stopped serving Hoosiers. Being what we have always been, what made us special, stopped being good enough. And in the process of that, of us just trying to cram as much stuff or as many people in as we possibly could, we lost our identity. Look, when the mayor talks about Lebanon, that Lebanon today ain't the Lebanon I grew up with, and I used to go to Lebanon all the time. And I don't think it's better. I don't think Brownsburg's better. I certainly don't think Avon's better. I mean, we can ask producer Jason when we come back. I don't think Greenwood's better. I don't think Arcadia's better. These other places now, they're starting to get the growth. Fishers, not better. Noblesville, not better. Yeah, there's more stuff. We've packed a bunch more people in, but what about the people who were there? What about the lives they lived and the lives they had and the things they enjoyed? The investments we have made through the shadow, quasi-corrupt, unethical IEDC have not produced lower taxes for us. Look, I've said this many times. If my taxes were half what they were 10 years ago, or my property taxes were half what they were 5 years ago, hey, may not like the growth, but at least it's paying off. If my water bill was half what it was, if all this growth was making life more affordable for me, I'd grin and bear it because I'm really frugal. But it's not. I've lost all the things I love in terms of the identity of the place I grew up. It's all gone. It's over. My town is a bunch of high-density housing and warehouses. The businesses, the places, the things. I was thinking about this even like the street I grew up on. It's like it all is different now. I was thinking about this driving home yesterday. So much of what I became came from the place I grew up in. That mattered to me. That was special to me because it was good enough. My parents were good enough. My life was good enough. And that's gone. Like the towny lifer people are mostly gone. They're certainly an overwhelming minority. The people who made those communities, places people wanted to go, they don't matter anymore. They're gone. And so I think like with LEAP, we've lost the plot. I think with the IEDC, we've lost the plot. I think we've so been chasing the brass ring. We've so been chasing the next thing, the next company, the next groundbreaking, the next dirt shoveling, the next look at how many jobs. All it's done is create communities where once every place you lived, Lebanon had an identity. Sheridan had an identity. Fishers had an identity. Carmel had an identity. Brownsburg had an identity. None of these places, for the most part, they're just places people put their heads now. It's all gone. And I think our politicians did serious damage. And I think LEAP is a great example of that. All right. But again, we totally appreciate Matt Gentry coming on, answering the questions. That's what all politicians should do, is what he did here today. Hey, buying a home is the biggest investment you'll ever make, but it's also about so much more than just a price tag. It's your next chapter. When you work with Lauren Wilson, her goal is to make sure you feel 100% confident in every decision you make. She's not there just to show you homes. She's there to guide you through the schools, the neighborhoods, the local routes that make Central Indiana special. Lauren Wilson is a military vet, Hoosier lifer, Central Indiana lifer, provides hands-on, high-touch service when you deal with her directly. Give Lauren Wilson with At Properties a call for your next move. 317-590-2290. 317-590-2290. All right, let's take our final break. When we come back, lots of comments to get to. Producer Jason will have them next. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Hi, I'm Lauren Wilson, a realtor with At Properties. Born and raised right here in Central Indiana and a Hoosier through and through. Selling your home is a massive undertaking, and I completely understand what that is. That's why when you work with me, we put a great plan together to make sure that when your home comes to the market, it is in the best light possible. Again, I'm Lauren Wilson, 317-590-2290. 317-590-2290. Let's put a plan together and get your home sold.
I'm Doug Cobb for Clay County Commissioner. I'm running to bring transparency back to our local government. As a concerned citizen, I want to know what's going on. We need new and fresh ideas for today's challenges. We need a vision for future generations. As a small business owner, I want to explore and promote opportunities to make us all successful. Let's create a brighter future for Clay County together. I'm Doug Cobb, running for Clay County Commissioner, and I approve this message. Paid for by Linda Cheesem.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Hi, I'm John Piper. I'm running for Congress in Indiana. I'm the only candidate in the United States of America exposing the crisis we have in mother's breast milk. Purdue University is a major player in that. Purdue is selling our veterinarians to out-of-state corporations for big money. Bobby Kennedy needs to know about it effective immediately. We are 55,000 veterinarians short across the United States. My two major opponents, Craig Haggard and Jim Barrett, are both protecting the Iranian terror cell in Plainfield, Indiana. I'm John Piper. I approve this message. Paid for Friends for Piper for Congress.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. It is time for the segment that everybody loves where we read your comments. Best comments of the day in the YouTube chat. You guys have been on fire. Before we get to Jason, real quick, hit that thumbs up if you haven't. A lot of new people here today, a lot of new traffic. Thanks for joining us. Hit that little thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That really helps us. Producer Jason, tell us about Black Sheep Plumbing.
It's time for the chat brought to you by...
Is your mic on?
Black Sheep. Yes, it is on. Yeah, I don't have to check it as much now. It's kind of like set now.
For those of you who are new, we go through this every day. Go ahead.
Yes, we do. The producer needs a producer. Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing, 765-315-7558. You can find that on the website as well. And you'll get services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing. Come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. I didn't know water heaters even lasted 6 years. I thought they were 4 or 5 years. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I need to call John.
You probably should call John.
Probably got to get that flush. Okay, let's get to it. Running out of time. We got the a ton of chat. A ton of people tuning in today. A ton of people chatting. I don't know what the final number is, but it's got to be astronomical.
Yep.
And so we're gonna jump to the end of it first, and then we'll go back to the beginning. But we want to get these comments in about Matt Gentry's visit to the program.
Yeah.
All right. We start with Jody Stewart. Matt Gentry don't care. He doesn't represent residents in the rural community because we don't vote for him.
It's a great point. It's a fair point.
There we go.
It's hard to blame him.
There we go. Oh, Jody was back later. Everyone put your boots on. It's about to get deep. ITG 45. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Coach RP. This is an absolute fabrication. Thomas Ho. Is Matt Gentry playing dumb?
You know, here's what I think we're going to do. I think we're going to have one of the farmers come back on, because I think I want to give some people an opportunity to respond to some of the things he said. So I'll reach out to the Loves, and I think we'll have them come back on to get their perspective on it.
All right, continuing on. Lucas Notarius. It's sneaky backroom BS. Drain the swamp. Where's the puke bucket?
Can I say something real quick? The thing that stood out to me, and I have no reason to think he's lying to me about this.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that the state, this is the most interesting thing that came out of that conversation to me. Gentry claims the state was like 7 miles down the road on this in terms of buying land before he knew about it. Mm-hmm. My question is, and I should have got more into this, but I was trying to get through all this stuff without spending 5 hours. How is it possible that the state, again, or are they CIA operatives? How could the mayor of the city or when I was on the town council, everything that happened in Brownsburg, I knew about it. If somebody was acquiring huge parcels of land, I would have been fully aware that was going on. That's the one thing I don't understand.
GFY Racing. Rob throwing softballs like he's interviewing Joe Biden. Okay, now, in his defense, in GFY Racing's defense, this was early in the interview when you were. It was a half-hour interview. Yeah. You can't just come in. You're a dirtbag. I mean, you got to lead into the dirtbag stuff. Not that Matt was. I mean, again.
He was great.
As an interview, I don't know the guy. I don't live in Lebanon, but it was a good interview. Whether he was telling the truth or not, whether you like him or not, I have no history, but that made for it. But you can't just come in and start throwing hardballs.
I would have thought we got into it pretty good there for a while.
It got good. And LD Stoltz. A lot of these are going to be negative, folks. Not sure who's moving to Lebanon, Indiana. It's still pretty much Hicktown, USA.
So I have a couple of dear friends, and they did this themselves. They acknowledge this. They bought a house in Lebanon. They lived in Brownsburg. They bought a house in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. They found another house that was close to Leap, and they're like, well, it won't be so bad. They bought it, and I saw them a couple weeks ago. They've been there maybe 6 months, and they were like, we're selling our house. We got to get out of here. And they admit, like, we was stupid. We did this ourselves. They said, a very bad place to live.
He did make the comment that only a minority of people in Lebanon were against this, right? Who's your truth? Minority my ass. I have the polling. He's a liar. Vic Ferrari, the reason why people have so much pushback is because we're not getting a break on property tax, gas tax, or utility charges.
That's right.
When does our break take center stage?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's people would be more open to all this growth if they were getting something out of it.
Mad Duck, you're getting screwed. That's what you're getting. Steve Green with an E. You'll get nothing and like it. See, when you're on fire, the chat's on fire.
That's right.
El Fuego. Jody Stewart, this isn't development, this is an attack. The old man 68, he is the minority. John Lee, tell me you know nothing about plumbing, Matt.
Okay, so he made a
You're
comment about
blow your...
Yeah, because I was being critical of the fact that they're running these pipes from Eagle Creek to Lebanon, but they're not letting the residents tap into the water. It's going to primarily go to Leap.
John McKinney tells Matt, wrong. They make pressure-reducing valves. It will not blow off your shower head.
We should ask John at Black Sheep Plumbing.
We should.
I will. If you remind me to do that, and I'll send him a message and ask him that.
We'll do that. We'll do that. Kevin Branham. Jason, good luck with your segment. You'll need an extra hour today. Well, he only gave me 10 minutes, but we'll get through it. ITG 45. Rob, don't let up. Charles Sloot. Unmask the liar, Rob. Steve Green with an E. I blame Matt.
Okay, people, real quick. I think he was pretty honest about what went down.
These people obviously have a preconceived opinion of Matt.
Now, the one thing I don't understand is how the mayor of a city could not know if, like, all that acreage was being gobbled up. You'd think you'd be like, that's one thing I don't understand. But maybe there's an answer to that. But I feel like he was pretty. It's his opinion. He thinks Leap is good. He thinks.
Well, he's sold.
Yeah. He's wrong, but I don't think he's lying. I think he genuinely thinks Leap is good. I just think he's wrong.
All right. Well, and we'll move back to the beginning. I know we only got a couple of minutes left here, but a couple important ones we want to get in. Joseph Norris jumping on the algorithm. Jason with the best chat messages in 69 minutes. He still didn't beat Kevin, though. Kevin was in 99 minutes ago. Let's see. And so, yeah, we'll get through some of these here. The Beckwith thing. Do we want to? Let's see. Look at Rob's fresh press shirt. That was Drew. Getting that one in there as I try to.
Shirts off on Easter.
There we go. Let's see. Rob. Okay, Jack the Libertarian. Rob is the modern day Ron Burgundy. And they talked about the body cam, or not the body. Yeah, what'd you call that with Beck?
So the body cam footage from the raid of Nathan Peternel's home.
Okay, right here.
For his son, Jonathan, who is now in prison. Yes.
Josh Richardson. Watched the body cam footage this morning. Truly unbelievable.
Yeah.
I haven't watched. I guess I got to go back and watch.
Well, and it's only a surface. I'm telling you, it's like 10 hours because there's numerous officers. And as I know someone who has seen the whole thing, they have played parts of it for me. There is zero doubt in my mind, nor anybody who would see all of it, any reasonable person. Those two, Nathan and his wife, knew exactly what their son was accused of that day.
And we've got a couple comments left here regarding Braun, your rant on Braun, which you rarely do rant on Braun, so kind of stood out there. Jack the Libertarian, everyone should have voted for Donald Rainwater. Well, I voted for Donald Rainwater.
Remember you did the...
Because I got paid by Donald Rainwater. I got paid.
Jason,
I got paid.
Jason did the original Rainwater television ad in 2020. It was fabulous.
If you saw Donald Rainwater on television in a commercial ad, it was probably, or internet, it was done by me.
The original Rainwater ad. That's right.
Yeah, they had a limited budget, and Rob said, I know a guy. I know a guy. Here he is. Okay, so we want to go ahead and I know we were probably running out of time, although there really is no time limit on this show. We could literally go till 5 p.m.
Well, okay, there is, because we got an interview coming up at noon.
Oh, we do? Okay.
And it's important. So tomorrow's just going to be important. I'll give you a chance to get the final thoughts here. John Crane is going to be with us. He's a former state senator, Republican from Hendricks County. He's going to be with us to talk about how we lobby the senators better. Like, obviously, we're up against these professional lobbyists. How do we start talking to these people better to get things like property taxes across the finish line? So that is coming up tomorrow. That's what we have to tape with the noon.
All right, we'll leave you with this one, Rob. A good positive note. Drain the Swamp writes, some days this is my only laugh of the day. Thank you, Jason and Rob.
That's great.
Happy to put a smile on your face, Drain.
Producer Jason, thank you as always.
Absolutely. The chat brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing.
Hey, masonry color mismatch, previous repair, catching your eye, not happy with the brick color on your home and ready for a total makeover? Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants offer specialized masonry, staining, and recoloring. Whether you want to seamlessly blend repairs or completely transform your home's exterior, want to build something new? Bramwell Mackay's 40-year master masons design and construct custom patios, sidewalks, outdoor summer kitchens, archways, entryways, and more. Bramwell Mackay, BRAMWELLMCKAY.com. Beauty built to endure. Guys, want to thank you for a great show today. Want to thank the mayor of Lebanon, Matt Gentry, for coming in and having that conversation with us. And if you haven't yet, hit that little thumbs up button before you go today. Let people know you like the show. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And if you liked what you saw today, share the feed. Share the feed. Also, if you're feeling super generous, support button over at robkendallshow.com. If you're new with us today, thanks for finding us. Thanks for joining us. Come back and visit us again real soon. How about tomorrow? We'll see you right here, 10 to noon, Rob Kendall Show.